Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today. Hi, Becky here. This Market Mamas Trading Psychology podcast offers me an incredible opportunity to bring on other traders as my guests, to talk out our journeys, share tips, and grow together through the uniquely awesome world that is day trading. Today, I am so privileged to welcome back as my guest for part 2 of our trading conversations, my good friend Peter Koo. Peter is an attorney who specializes in intellectual property law, commercial transactions, and corporate law. Peter is currently the executive vice president and general counsel of Excel Health, Inc., a healthcare provider based in Washington State that owns and operates ambulatory surgical centers in Aliso Viejo in Southern California and Honolulu, Hawaii. Peter was first a guest on this podcast in early January of this year. So if you miss that episode, you're going to want to go back after this one and get caught up because it held so many helpful tips and words of wisdom. And to be honest, Peter and I could and have talked for hours and hours on all things trading, both just he and I, and then also within our trading community. Hence, it was really only natural that we need multiple episodes to really cover so many important topics for traders that we want to bring forth for you all as like our gift to the greater trading world. So without further ado, let's get right back into it. Each time you have a loss, ideally, it'll be smaller and less traumatic as you grow and get better with risk management. But then also your emotional recovery will be bouncing back quicker because you will have recognized that, in July, I had this really hard setback. But then by August, I was getting payouts consistently again. So that just proves that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that carries over into trading very much so too. And so at least for myself, I think that has been part of my evolution, is recognizing that these days that once seemed catastrophic were shaping me, were teaching me, were molding me, and I recovered from every single one of them, and I'm farther along than I ever have been. And so to lean into that helps me recover quicker.
Totally. I want to share an experience and ask you about this. Again, something you and I have talked about in the past, but it's like, I had a particularly bad day. Maybe it was like a year and a half ago. I called you, by the way. I called Jermaine and I called you, right? And it was like, I had, unfortunately, we use proprietary trading because we're not trading our own money. But I had built up, a bit of a sum, and I was kind of expecting, a payout, and then I blew it all in one day. And I was sort of like, I told you, I was kind of curled up, like a little ball in my office, like, what is going on? What did I just do, right? And it's interesting to me that every successful trader that I know, you and I think included in there, has had that moment of being curled up like a ball and like wondering what the hell just happened, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, they say that the darkest hour is before the dawn, right? That's the dark hour. And I don't know any trader, particularly day trader, right? I don't know any successful day trader who hasn't had that moment where it's just felt so dark, right? And the ones who I think eventually are able to see the light at the other end of the tunnel, stick with it, right? And grind, because it is a grind. Day trading is a grind. It's a 1 hour grind, right? We should talk about the other part of it. We can talk about that next, which is like the idea that, you and I have spent like nights and weekends, going over charts, learning that part, while we do our day jobs, right? That part is critical, right? That's not time on the charts tradings. That's just time, doing the hard work of learning, which happens to this day, right? So you have any thoughts on that? Because I know that, that the dark place, right, is everyone that you and I have known that has been good at this has had to, walk through that, right?
Yeah. I think that our personalities will dictate maybe what that might look like for each of us, because people have slightly different variations on stories of that, but no one doesn't have that I have talked to. And I read a lot of content as well. And I think that is kind of synonymous with really making something great, is that you have to really want it and try hard, which means that you're going to fail, right? Like
Right.
something that's really hard and has the potential to have all of this like impact for ourselves, it's a big deal. And so like I definitely agree that those really lowest lows, you could say, in your trading journey happen, and how you choose to recover and learn and grow from them and kind of still love yourself through it
Yeah.
has been, I think is very common sentiment. And I think that people might be, even on YouTube today, like this might resonate with somebody, because I mean, when I would have those moments, I would seek out someone out there who also has been there and kind of can say that you can get through it and help you kind of pull out of it, no matter who you have. I mean, we can talk as well, as we have, about the value of a strong trading community, because, when you have a really hard day, people can have your back, like people who understand trading and know that you're not crazy for still
Right.
doing it every day, even when it brings you to tears sometimes. But can instead, help you see the lessons through it and help remind you of who you are and how you've grown, because they've witnessed you doing it and because they're in your community, and then kind of help nudge you back on your feet. And so I definitely have been there, and I'm so grateful for the people that I have found throughout my trading experience that have helped support me.
Yeah, it's true. Like some of the, our Thursday, for the people who are listening, our Thursday morning calls are our psychology calls, right? And boy, it's just so raw and poignant and piercing, and people are there, and it's all the, it's not the pretty side of ourselves that we show to the world. The mask we put on to go and do our roles in the world. It's just very, very authentic, right, and honest. And people are very vulnerable. You and I included. We come on there, we talk about, things that we've basically, where we have just majorly, screwed up, and then talk about why, and then how we can do that. For me, a lot of that for me is just, having to look in the mirror and it's like, do I like what I see? And if not, what is it that needs to, change? And for me, um, just being a lot more present, not attached to outcome, being focused on process excellence, right? And like I said, relationship hygiene, right? I don't, even I just don't let people into my life, right, that aren't supportive, right? Because I don't know, I should have done this 30 years ago, right? But it's like trading sort of pushed me to the point where this is really, I couldn't be a successful trader if I didn't do this on a regular basis, right? So, any thoughts about that,
It's
Becky?
like you have to
And
protect your castle. I think relationship hygiene is similar to protecting your castle. Like, it's
yeah,
good for your inner kingdom, and you want to like keep everything else out because
right,
you need to protect it. And so I think that that's a very valuable skill to prioritize. And,
yeah,
one thing I don't even think I've told Jermaine actually about our psychology classes is that I, for starters, my life is super busy and I can't really plan ahead for everything, so I just show up. But then part of it is like, it's so, for me at least, totally unscripted. And I think that's probably why I've cried on more than one occasion, because in that class, he's just checking with everyone, and everyone is so authentic and be like, this is where I'm struggling and this is what's happening and this is what I think. And then Jermaine will chime in with, something that may be beneficial, and other people will be so supportive. And it's so authentic, more so than any other discussions I think I've experienced as a trader.
oh,
And so for me, I just come on, and like when it's my turn, he'll call on me and I just like start saying things, and it spirals into some, like it really just evolves into this beautiful conversation of like the core of our hearts, because this topic is literally trading psychology, where you're at, what's okay, what's not okay, how can we talk together and brainstorm what could make it better moving into the next week, how does it go week to week. And so I think that just a genuine purpose of those conversations have really been so supportive, because they just pull out our truths, I think. And
mhm,
for myself, I'm really I'm not great at having a filter. So
yeah,
that's why I'm like, we probably shouldn't curse on our podcast, but fuck that, because I'm just going to talk how I talk, because I just want to say what's real. And I think that there's so much value in that, of like being authentic and not like BSing your way through something because you think it's prettier. And so I really highly value those really pure conversations that get kind of to the heart of an issue quicker that way.
right away, right,
Mm-hmm.
right away, right away. And the interesting thing about that is that, like one can't, it's not a judgment, but like, I think like eventually to get where we want to be as consistently profitable traders, um, we have to look in the mirror, and we have to confront, um, those aspects of ourselves that, we may be self-sabotaging our own success, right? This is the best thing about that, best thing about those psychology calls on Thursday. Um, but so I want to talk a little bit. So on our agenda, we're wandering, but this is kind of good. Like, I think you and I have talked a little bit about risk management, right? Mm-hmm. And I would say, one of the things that has really turned the tables for me in terms of, seeing, um, a more consistent profitability is I manage risk a heck of a lot better than I did, a year ago. And people, when I talk to people, like, they ask, I get asked sometimes, like, are you a good trader? I said, I think I'm okay. Like I don't get the types of entries that, like, I see, like you do or Jermaine does. Like, I'm not that precise, but I do think that where I've gotten a lot better, and I think we all have to be, is managing risk. Okay. And I think that turned the tables for me. Once I was able to kind of, I would say, not just be okay, but be pretty good at that. Then the consistent profitability comes. It's not being able to take the most optimal entry at the most optimal time, and always do the A plus trades, right? Because I think we're human. It's the other part. It's being able to manage the downside of it, which really means nothing. Placing stop losses where they make sense, not over leveraging, not over trading, right? What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously I don't want to brag about you, but you're seeing some pretty consistent success, right? And be curious, like what kind of boxes you see yourself to have checked over the last, let's say year or two that's made a difference.
Yeah. Thank goodness this winter has been my most consistent and profitable yet. And I'm really so grateful to be here. But it's definitely been a lot of hard work. And I have to say that there is a previous Market Mamas episode that we really I poured my heart into, like, defining risk management. And so I'm going to link that in the description below, because I think for anyone who wants more risk management, like, look at that, because we really talked about the different styles that you could do with it. Yeah. But me personally, I have had to really grow with this, because I tend to be less fearful of loss for some damn dumb reason. I don't know. So I'm like, I know, yeah. Sometimes I will hold them longer than someone would through more of a retracement. And I think that to my, support, it's because I am pretty good at market context. And so sometimes I'm like, it's going to find support somewhere down here. And so my entry wasn't killer, but I want to be in somewhere down here and I want to take it up. And so even if I don't nail perfect entry, which always makes me so happy when I do, but if I don't, I still want to be in somewhere down here to take it to somewhere up here, a specific target. And so I will flex a little bit with my risk management. And so what has, I think, honestly got me to the most consistent profitability and success week over week is my leverage, because I used to be a little bit more like gray with this, and I would leverage differently. And sometimes I would go in heavier, or I would average, which there's actually a Paul Tudor Jones quote that says, losers average losers. So sometimes that's in my head when I'm thinking about averaging, and I'm like, I'm not a loser. I mean, I got to behave. But so that there is, I think, slowing down on my leverage and only taking 1 or 2 contracts per trade, generally 2. I rarely trade 1, let's be real, but, and not getting in too heavy, especially if I want to allow a whole range be my risk versus one specific doji and hiding behind that candle. I had to really lock in and be like, what's my account size? What does it look like if I, allow this certain, location to be my support that I'm leaning on? If I get in for 3 contracts, it's going to make it a substantial loss. And so you just have to, I think, calculate what your instrument is, what its average volatility is, what kind of movement it has intraday, what trade setup are you looking at, within your trade plan, and then manage that in an appropriate way that your accounts can hold through. And so I think that that's been a fine tuning process for me, but actually trading smaller size has got me more money. And to Jermaine's point, small losses get you paid, which was something that he just said one day. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. So I think of that often too, is that, trying to keep it tight so that you can get back in at a better place also is one of my strategies. So those two things, I think smaller leverage, I actually make more money. And then keeping losses small when I see that it's not supporting my trade yet, and to be patient as my biggest like hacks that are getting me farther along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I say the one thing that has made a difference in terms of just being, more, more profitable is that, I used to have very hard rules, okay, and I still do to some extent, but it's like, okay, no more than like, like 2 trades a day, let's just say, right? And Jermaine can do that because he'll go in with like, 6 or 10 contracts, right? So it doesn't take much for him to have a really good day, right? If we're trading with 1 or 2, we're trying to manage risk, right? Like that, we don't want to spend an hour or 2 working and end the day with $12, right? It's like that's pretty frustrating.
Hmm.
Um, I'll tell you what I have done. And it's funny. It's the first time I'm going to talk about this ever. Okay, which is, Becky, there are days when I just, excuse my French, I just don't fucking see the market. Okay, I think it's going to do this, and it's doing everything except that. Okay, and the thought really is that what on earth am I doing? And if I look back on those days, or maybe the chunk of days, like those 2 hours or those 3 hours, and I look at the movement of the market, those are just algorithms doing shit, right? Like I shouldn't be in there with them, right? And when the big players come in and they start taking, it's very clear. They're like a tsunami wave, right? It's very clear what's happening, right? At that point, then I should be on alert, okay? So what I've gotten much better, this is part of risk management, is like when it's just algorithms, right, doing shit on the market, which is maybe 70% of the time, I stay away, just stay away, And then really the flip side of that is that, when I'm seeing this market, let's just say it's in balance up, okay? On a pullback to the 1 band, on a pullback to, to a higher time frame, support, supply, demand level, and it does it, once, twice, 3 times. I really should take those trades because those are the days that when I can make hay, right? And then the other days, I should just lay low, right? I should walk the dog, you know what I mean? Go work out, go do anything, go play pickleball, do anything, except trade, right? And the days, and in terms of just what days are like, it's really hard to tell, right? But the days to make hay, it can be in a week, it can be every day, right? And the days when I don't see shit in a week, that can be every day, you know? And if it is for me, like I kind of know what to do, right? So what you have any thoughts about that? Because I've changed my thinking about that because I'm like thinking, oh, okay, I see the market. Oh, but I've taken my 2 trades, and I don't know if it's the right way to think, but it's sort of works.
I think with the more knowledge that we get, that's the better that we're going to be able to capitalize on it, right? I mean, it could be before, when we were less skilled and less knowledgeable and less comfortable, trades would stress our bodies more, physically, emotionally, mentally taxing to be like, fuck, I think this is right. I think this is right. And whether win or loses, that's more stressful, right? Whether you're like, oh God, did I read that right? Oh shit, I forgot to look at this time frame. I'm already in the trade. What's he going to do? Like those mornings are hard. They're heavy. My shoulders hurt afterwards. Like I'm stressed. Like I'm rushing for the kids because I'm not paying attention to the clock, and I'm not in and out like I like to be. But now if we can be more patient and we can have a better understanding, and on those days where you see it clearly and you nail the first 1 or 2 trades, and then you're like, damn, she's still doing what I think she's doing. And look, she went to that next level and it's holding, in that situation, your mental capital is not near as killed as it would be on a stressful morning. And so then you do have more. So I think that as we grow and evolve, I think that it's going to be, have some flux in it. But I think the main key is that awareness, like you're talking about, of like recognizing the days where you just cannot figure out what she's doing. It's not making as much sense. Recognizing earlier that is just not your day. And that's when you need to lock your counts, like Top Step and, other programs have really great, like just lock it out, walk away, set your stops in place so that you just don't engage anymore and wait for a better day. But on the days where you're like calm and you can see it, I think that that is the world that we're stepping into, where we are going to be able to capitalize more fully. But that has to be earned with time and work on the charts and experience and knowing your setups and staying present with that. And so I wouldn't want to take that for granted in any given day and pretend that I know what's going on and I'm still chill if that's not the truth. But I think that there's been days too where I have traded past my normal session, where I like to just trade in the morning. But there's been days where sometimes I will like, oh, I want to, like, I think I get it and I'll take more afterwards, and generally those trades work because I'm relaxed and I'm like, I don't need this trade. This isn't my training hours, but I see this, my kids are already gone to school because it's later. And I think that's kind of a cool evolution for us.
It's hard to say too, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's hard to, because, like in some ways, like we don't know, right? Like I think it's foolhardy for a trader to think, oh, okay, like the best trades for me are 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, right? Because the markets don't, recognize that that's our prime time, and therefore I will behave for Peter and Becky, right? The markets do what they do, right? And sometimes, particularly like this last week or two, right? The big movements, the trades that make sense, have happened towards the latter part of session, right? And I'm lucky I work from home. Like I like I don't trade that. I don't spend that much time on the charts, but I can like glance over, right? And if something's happening, I can hop on. But most of the time, I'm just doing my day job, right? And doing this, when the opportunity presents itself, right? I want to talk about one more thing with you, which is something that the not the previous trading school we were at, but the one before that. Right? I remember there was a conversation. A lot of traders got very, very agitated, right? Because one of the I think one of the teachers had said, I think the language was not intended the way that it was interpreted. He said it's not about the money, right? And then everybody got a lot of people got very agitated, and I think I was too, right? Because in some ways, what we're doing, it is about the money. We're here to trade, to make money, to support our families and live the lives and all. And reminding ourselves of that is actually quite empowering. What is interesting, though, Becky, is what Jermaine has told, which is you can't be thinking about it when you're trading, right? Because trading is taking a trade from here to here, and the P&L sort of takes care of itself, right? All of the great traders that I know, right, say exactly the same thing. So in some ways, I have an analogy. Let me share this with you and let me know what you think. It's like golf, right? Like I have been a consistently bad golfer my whole life. And when I play well, it is, when I play reasonable, let's say, it is because I don't think about the score. All I'm thinking about is the shot I'm about to hit right now. Not the 6-inch putt I just missed on the last hole, right? But the shot I'm about to hit at the tee box, like right now, okay? And I think the same goes for trading. In some ways, it is about money, but to be an effective trader, like if we have a running P&L in our head, well, in my head, if I'm running P&L during the day, I'm screwed. I'm totally screwed, right? Well, you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think I wholeheartedly agree, because I think trading your P&L is not a good way to trade, because if you're just trading to lock in $1,000 for your accounts or whatever, you're not focused on the right thing. You're focused on dollar signs and what you want to do with your next payout. You're not focused on the charts and your skill and your set and market context and what it's looking like and what the data is printing in front of you. And so I absolutely have learned that and experienced that every day. I definitely as well trade my best when I am focusing on the trade in front of me. When my plan is to take the best trade that I can, manage it the best risk that I can, and hold it to my targets. And then if I can just focus on what my timeframes are doing and what's happening at that level, and does it support or contradict the trade that I am trying to execute, and then I just do my best to appropriately manage that situation. And the end of that day, where I'm just acutely aware and calm and focused, is generally a green P&L. But if I was just be like, I'm going to take $1,000 today because I want to hit my numbers so I can withdraw on Friday, that's not it. That's not the right intention and focus that you should be having. And so I wholeheartedly agree with the statement that I have heard said in many different ways as well. But focus on the trade in front of you, and the money follows, which I think is better than it's it's not about the money. Well, that's really, hell yeah, I want to be a wealthy trader. Like, why else am I, like I do want that for my family, but in the day to day, I don't want that. In the day to day, I want to be an expert trader. And then expert traders are paid very well, right? Okay, you guys, Peter and I obviously have been trading together for a couple of years, and we really enjoy these conversations. And that's why I wanted to have him on, and why he was so gracious to come on with me twice already for these conversations. And so please, if you have any questions for Peter or me, or topics you want to have us talk about again next time, we covered a lot in this episode and the last one of the conversation in February, March. But there's still more to talk about. And so Market Mamas podcast is here to cover all things about trading, psychology and technicals, and our experience of it. And I think that having this back and forth with a trader that knows me kind of very closely, we get deeper into it. So I'm really, really thankful for you to be here, Peter, and I'm definitely bringing you back.
Yes. Thank you so much, Becky. That was a blast. Okay, we'll do it again.
Yeah, a couple months, you guys. He's going to be back. So please hit me up with questions, because Peter is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, even the experience about, infrastructure and risk management. I mean, we're here to talk about everything. So thank you all for being here with us at Market Mamas.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thanks, Becky.